What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu and you're watching a Ragin Ronin review. Got a review for you. Last weekend I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp twice in IMAX 3D, and man, what a fun film. What a really, really fun film. Ant-Man and the Wasp is the 20th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it is a breath of fresh air to just have a more lighthearted, more personal story, a smaller Marvel Cinematic Universe film that isn't just about world domination. I mean, like watching Avengers Infinity War was awesome. It was amazing. It was such an incredible experience, but it was just like, wow. Like, it's kind of exhausting in a way where it's like there's so much going on, and it's such a crazy but awesome film. And of course there was Thor Ragnarok and then Black Panther, and now I just really am glad to see a smaller film. It just feels different and kind of fresh after so many larger Marvel Cinematic Universe films. But anyways, I want to give you guys a review, and I'll just start off by saying that I was really pumped for an Ant-Man and the Wasp film after watching the 2015 surprise hit Ant-Man. I couldn't wait to see another one. I just love Paul Rudd playing that character, and it was just so cool. It was just surprisingly fun. We've seen so many of these high-flying superheroes and super soldiers that it was just such a fun thing to see a character just shrink and size and do all kinds of extraordinary things. So when they announced that there's going to be a sequel, I was like, yes. And then 3 years later, we finally got it, and now we're here. Anyways, I'm going to give you guys my review in my expectations versus reality format, so I'm going to start off with my expectations. So I expect Ant-Man to be as fun and actually funnier than the first one. There's always got to be a way to make the movies, or rather the sequels, bigger, and that is by upping up the action and just making it a lot more fun. And with the writers that we have on board, I'm sure they're going to do a really great job in just bringing in lots and lots of humor. Now, there's one thing that I feel I should lower my expectations on, and that is the character of Ghost, which is the villain in the movie. I don't know if she's the main villain, but I will at least say that she's probably one of the antagonist elements in the film, just because when you watch any of the marketing, it really doesn't put her front and center. You know how when you see a lot of the marketing for the films, they really give you an exciting look at the villains, but I don't know, Ghost just feels like, you know, she doesn't really has that presence, especially in the trailers, so I have a feeling that she's not a big part of the villain, or rather the antagonist aspect of the film. But besides that, I actually expect this film to be better than the first one. That's going to be a hard thing to do because, you know, how can you beat a good origin story? Anyways, those are my expectations for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp is hilarious. It is full of action, like really, really exciting and fun action. And it's definitely not better than the first one. Just like what I said in my expectations, you cannot beat a good origin story because that's where all and a lot of the character development is at. And you really get to see those emotions, that personal story. This is a more personal story. It's a smaller film, especially when compared to Avengers Infinity War, but still, I love that they still keep it as a pretty small film, no pun intended. But yeah, it's definitely not better, but it's still, that doesn't mean it's not a great film. It is a great film. It's a great film in the sense that it's highly entertaining and you get a lot of laughs and thrills from it. But one of my expectations about the film definitely was exactly what I expected, in the sense that Ghost was definitely not a big villain. In fact, I would say that she was probably one of the weaker villains, if not the weakest villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Her character just isn't given that much of a presence in the film, but it's kind of just for the purpose of the story, because Ant-Man and the Wasp is what I find a very unique film when compared to a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, because it's not just about one big supervillain. It's more about a mission. It's about a mission, and there's a lot of obstacles in the way. And unfortunately, Ghost is one of those obstacles. She's more of an obstacle as opposed to an antagonist. So that's what I expected, and that's what I ended up getting. and that those were my expectations for the films, and my expectations were actually met. But my expectation of Ant-Man and Wasp being better than the original was not met, because it isn't better than the original. I gave the original a 9 or 9.25 out of 10, and I'm going to tell you what my score is at the end of this review, but I'll say that it definitely is not better than the first film. Now, things that didn't work for me in this film is that, like I said before, there's really a lack of a strong villain. There's no actual main antagonist. It's just a bunch of antagonist elements. And so that really kind of just, I feel it takes away from the superhero film genre when you don't have a main antagonist. I think that some people will disagree with me, but this film really is about, it's got a different type of story. It's about a mission, and then you have a bunch of antagonist elements as the obstacles from getting to that mission. So that's really what we have as an antagonist. So Ghost wasn't it, and even as a super villain, she still is really quite underwhelming. And I understand her motives, but they really didn't write her in a way which really made her that strong, which is too bad, because I think there was potential there, and I felt that they could have done so much more with her character. So that's that. Another thing that I felt that could be improved is that, well, Ant-Man and the Wasp, or rather Ant-Man, like this character's franchise, is a very humor-driven type of film. So it feels like they're just creating gags, like sight gags or comedic dialogue gags, just for the sake of laughs. But it doesn't really add much to the story. I feel like it definitely complements the story, but I mean, we're talking about creating an entire scene just for the sake of laughs. So that doesn't quite work for me, because if you take out that particular scene, it involves a school, it's still the same movie. You could take out that scene entirely, it's still the same movie. But of course, it's funny, it's just hilarious, but they just wrote that scene in just for the sake of creating laughs and just giving Paul Rudd just more moments. I guess it adds more chemistry, and like it adds more character chemistry moments for Wasp and Ant-Man. Let me tell you some things that did work, that worked really, really well. And I love that there was a good balance between the two characters. This is Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it was a really good balance. It wasn't just Ant-Man as the main character and Wasp as a supporting character. They were equal, and that was great. It was a perfect balance, and Wasp was given a lot of forefront. It was almost like it was her movie, which was great, and then Ant-Man was there to provide support. So that was really cool, and they worked together so well. There was some great chemistry there. Next, I love that, like I said before, this is a lighthearted Marvel Cinematic Universe film. We've got a lot of very serious films, Black Panther being one of them, still being a fun film, but it's a more serious film where it's not driven by humor. It's driven by characters and emotions and personal stories, right? This is definitely driven by comedy, lighthearted film, family type of film, right? I love the humor and the writing. They really did a great job in keeping in the same tone as the first one. And we know what the first one was like. If you like the comedy in the first one, then you will love the way it is in the second one, because it definitely is funnier. And a lot of things that you loved about the humor and the writing is all there. And Paul Rudd is still Paul Rudd. Peyton Reed is back to direct. Just like I said before, same writing team. They added a couple more writers, but same writing team and same creative direction. Peyton Reed is back to direct. So Ant-Man and Wasp is a great compliment to Ant-Man, especially because it feels like a direct continuation when you have the tone and the direction of the film feel exactly the same. Unlike, for example, Iron Man 3, which feels very different from Iron Man 1 and 2 if you really pay attention to the direction. And finally, actually this is something I already mentioned, there's a great chemistry between all the actors. I think all the actors in this movie did a great job, and there's a great interaction and chemistry between all of them. Especially with it being a personal story, there's going to be a lot of character interactions. I love how they did this, and it just was it's a really feel-good movie. Anyways, my final thoughts for this film is that this is a great sequel. It's a sequel that really complements the first one very, very well. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Definitely not a 9 or a 9.25, just like I gave Ant-Man, the original film. You can't beat a really good origin story. Origin stories are usually the top, just because they make those character origins so well and we really feel for the character. This is not about just becoming a character. This is not about becoming a character like the first one was. This is about a mission. They already are those characters. Now they have to go on another adventure. They have to go on a deep adventure, and it's about that adventure and the obstacles that they have to encounter. So it's less of a more character-driven film. It's more visual, and it's more driven by humor and just a lot of visual type of gags, and it works. It's a formula that works, and I don't really have that much to complain about. If there was anything that I would fix, I would just say give Ghost a bigger role. That's it. That's all I would do. Everything else is very, very, very enjoyable, and it's definitely a film that you'll have a great time watching. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. It's 8 out of 10. And as always, if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.